So now let's go ahead and put together this profile image. First, we'll have to add that image. So what do we need to do? Let's go to our res folder there, inside our drawables, and you should have access to this image, or you can find any image on the internet. That's fine. What we need to do is once you get that image, you need to drag that image onto a drawable. Okay, so I have the image here. I'm going to just copy that and paste inside there. You can drag or you can just paste it all in. And there we go. You can see there is the profile image.jpg. Make sure if you're getting your image, it follows exactly this naming convention here. So lowercase and underscore if you have more than one word. It's very important for Android. Okay, there we go. We have that image there. So we're going to create this entity. So we are now going to create this. Now, the concept behind Compose is that we are using smaller composable functions to create a bigger user interface declaratively. Again, we're going to go through all of that at a later time. We're just going through this process, the motions of this just to get started, really. So you get excited about this course, okay? So the idea, again, is to create the smaller pieces that we can view them and then put them on top of other pieces. So we can create the fuller user interface. With that, we are going to think about a different way to create these user interfaces and then add them on top of each other. So we could obviously go up here or inside of our card, because it's going to be inside of this card here, and start putting together the code to create our profile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another surface here, because again, surface can be anything, right? Could make just a background. We can bend it. We can do whatever we want with it. All right. So we have a surface here. We can get rid of all of that, of course, and that's not needed. And next, inside of our surface, we want to bend it. We want to customize it so it looks exactly like this. And at this point here, you should think about, okay, what would be the parameter we're going to be passing inside here so that we can bend or customize our surface so that it looks circular and we can add an image to it. Well, modifier. Modifier is our friend. So I'm going to say modifier. Enter. I'm going to say modifier as such. And I'm going to go and first of all create a size, or not create, invoke the size and set it up. Now the size here, again, it allows us to pass either width and height or just the size in general to say that whatever we pass here is going to apply for width and height. So I'm going to say 150 for width and height, and you can just pass it like that. DP, of course. Okay. All right. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a new line, say dot. Again, we're still inside of a modifier. Okay, I'm going to say padding. I want to padding around all is going to be about 5.dp like this. Very good. And the next parameter I'm going to pass inside of our surface, make sure we're inside of our surface here, is the border. If you hover over, in fact, to know what parameters we can pass, you can just hover over and it will give you exactly all the parameters you can pass. Right? We pass modifier. We can also pass that later. It's fine. Shape, color, border, content, color, elevation, so forth. In fact, let's just follow the order here, right? Let's go to shape first. So I'm going to say shape, and I'm going to say I want the circle shape like that. If you just want to have a circle shape, you don't want to do anything to it. You can just call it circle shape as this. If you hover over, you're going to see that this is just a circular shape with all the corners sized as the 50% of the shape size. So it's all going to be round, which is exactly what we want. All right. And the next thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and pass the color. Actually, let's go ahead and pass the border. I think the border will be great. And the moment you start typing, you can see the border property requires a border stroke. So I'm going to say is equal, hit enter. I'm going to invoke the border stroke. And you can see the border stroke here requires width and color, or width and brush, but we'll get into that more. So what is the width of this border? Well, I'm going to say it's going to be 0.5.dp. So not even one, very, very small. And for the color, I'm going to use the color that we can get from Android Compose UI, right? These are colors that come with Compose. And I'm going to say, I want this to be light gray. Very good. And I'm going to get out of that and continue. I'm going to say elevation of about 4.dp. So to be a little bit higher than the background. So it has that very nice material theme look. All right, let's see if this looks anything like we want. And there you have it. It doesn't look quite like what we want, but at least we can see there is a skeleton here. Okay, so it's very round, but it's more like a pill than what we want. It's okay. We're going to get there, but at least we can see something is working. All right, the next thing after elevation, what we can do, we can also pass the color. I'm going to say color. Now for color, as you saw earlier, I can go ahead and just invoke color object, if you will, and then get white, like gray, whatever color that I want. But I can also say something like this. I'm going to say material theme. So this is part of course, material theme that comes with Compose. So if I just go into material theme, I can say dot, I can go to colors, and I can say on surface, okay, like this, and then I can do other things. I can say, for instance, copy to say that I'm going to modify this a little bit. In this case, the alpha, meaning how visible this color is going to be. I'm going to pass that 0.5 F like this. Okay. So not to go into a lot of details here, because again, we will take the time to go into all the details later. Okay. But what we're doing here is just actually invoking the material theme that comes with our project already. We're going to go and say colors. In fact, if you open our project, you will go to UI theme. There we go. We have color, shape, theme, and so forth. Right? If you double click, there's all of these colors that are being invoked here. And we'll get to that. But what we're saying here, we want to take the material theme of the project, get the colors. So on surface here, if you hover over, it says color used to text and icons displayed on top of this surface color. There we go. And then we are just saying, okay, we want to actually make the alpha property of this a little bit dimmer, not too bright, if you will. Okay, the visibility of that. All right, so now that we have this code, we have our surface. What we want to do really is to have that image we added inside of this, right? So it looks, again, something like this. Well, how do we do that? To do that, of course, remember, inside of our surface here, we pass all these parameters, right? But then we have this block, which means now we can add something inside of this surface, right? So what is it we want to add? Well, first I'm going to say image, because that's what we want to add. Image. There's different overloaded image functions here, right? We're going to use the first one, which is we need to pass a painter. So painter is going to be the object that will go and get what is it exactly that we want to paint onto the screen, meaning what image we want to show. So I'm going to say painter. Say painter as such, resource, because we want to go through our resource and get our image. So hit enter, and then I'm going to say, in this case, r.drawable to go to our drawables and get the profile image. So what we're doing here, we're going to R through R, resource class that is hidden somewhere, and we're invoking the drawable folder. So we go into our drawable folder and get our profile image JPEG, or whatever name you've added. And you can see here in the gutter, there is indeed that image showing. Very good. Now, the other thing also you notice here is that we must pass something else, right? In our image, we must pass the content description. What is this? This will allow for our visually impaired folks to be able to know exactly what this image is supposed to represent, right? So we're going to say here, profile image, like this. So description of the image. Okay, so and after that, we're going to pass a modifier. Notice the theme here is that modifier allows us to then modify, as the name implies, our function, right? How it's going to relay the information we're passing. So I'm going to say modifier.size. I'm going to just give it one big size of 135.dp as such. Okay, and there we go. Doesn't look that great, but we're going to fix that. So next thing we're going to do for our image here, we are going to pass a content scale because we want to scale this to a better size other than this. So inside here, I'm going to say content scale, and I want to crop it. Let's see. Something is not right. Obviously, we don't want this to take the whole space as you see here, right? Because the image now is taking this whole entire view, which is, of course, our surface here inside of our card. But also have to remember something, that the contents of this whole card will have something like this, because we're not just going to have the image, right? We're also going to have other elements here. We're going to have this divider and the name and all this stuff. So we need to figure out a way to subdivide this whole view so that all of these can be accommodated accordingly. And that's what we're going to be doing in the next video.